By the time you reach the end of an ordinary day, something has quietly happened to your thinking, not because anything went wrong, not because the decisions were hard, but because there were so many of them. What you had for breakfast, which email to open first, whether to reply now or later. The mind treats each of these the same way it treats a genuinely important choice, and that cost accumulates. Decision fatigue is not a personality flaw. It is a structural feature of how the brain spends its energy. This is not about laziness. That distinction matters because most people who crash in the evening and find themselves unable to choose what to watch, what to eat, or whether to respond to a message, tend to assume something is wrong with them personally. The research suggests otherwise. The psychologist Roy Baumeister and his colleagues proposed, through a series of studies in the late 1990s and early 2000s, that self-regulation and decision-making draw on a shared cognitive resource. One that behaves a bit like a muscle. Use it repeatedly and it weakens. The implication is uncomfortable. Every choice you make, no matter how small, draws from the same account that holds your focus, your patience, and your willpower. That is not a metaphor. It is a model with real predictive power, and once you see it, the shape of your day starts to make a different kind of sense. What you stand to understand by the end of this is not a productivity hack. It is something quieter. Why your clearest, most intentional self tends to appear in the morning and gradually fades across the hours, and what that means for the choices you most want to make well. Picture a judge sitting in a courtroom. She has heard 12 cases by mid-afternoon. The defendants are strangers to her. Her job is to weigh evidence and decide. You might expect her rulings to be consistent, shaped only by the facts, but something else is happening. Shai Danziger and his colleagues studied over 1,000 parole board decisions in Israel and published their findings in 2011. Prisoners who appeared before the board early in the morning were granted parole roughly 65% of the time. Those who appeared late in the session, just before a break, received parole less than 20% of the time. Same legal criteria, dramatically different outcomes. The judges were not corrupt or careless. They were depleted. And a depleted brain defaults to the safest, most automatic answer available. For a parole board, the safe default is denial. Baumeister's Ego Depletion model, developed with colleagues including Tice and Muraven, proposed that this pattern extends to every corner of ordinary life. Their 1998 research showed that people who exerted self-control in one task performed significantly worse on a subsequent, unrelated task. The resource was shared, the depletion transferred. What surprises me most about this finding is how unremarkable the trigger is. You do not need to face a moral dilemma to spend yourself down, choosing a font, replying to a calendar invitation, picking a route home. Each micro-decision withdraws from the same account as the genuinely important ones. The mind does not distinguish by significance. It only tracks the cost. There is a pattern many people recognize without knowing its name. You are disciplined in the morning. You plan well. You say no to things that do not serve you. Then, somewhere around the middle of the afternoon or the end of a long day, the version of you that showed up at 9 in the morning seems to have quietly left the building. You eat something you did not plan to eat. You agree to something you meant to decline. You send a message you later wish you had slept on. This is not a character failure. It is decision fatigue expressing itself in the gap between intention and behavior. Kahneman's framework in Thinking Fast and Slow, published in 2011, offers a useful map here. He describes two modes of thought: a fast, automatic system that operates on habit and pattern, and a slower, deliberate system that requires genuine effort. When the deliberate system is depleted, the automatic system takes over. You are no longer choosing, you are reacting. And what you react toward is usually what is easiest, most familiar, or most immediately rewarding. The marketing world has known this for decades. Products placed at checkout counters, impulsive purchases made late in the evening, Subscriptions agreed to after a long sequence of small decisions. These are not accidents. They are architectures designed around a mind that is too tired to push back. Judges defer, shoppers overspend, patients receive less careful attention later in the clinic day. The shape of the problem is consistent. A depleted decision-maker becomes a predictable one. Knowing about decision fatigue does not automatically protect you from it. Understanding the mechanism is not the same as having more energy. The intervention has to be structural, not just conceptual. The most durable strategy is not making better decisions while depleted. It is reducing the number of decisions that need to be made at all. Researchers call this decision simplification. It is what people like Barack Obama practiced by wearing near-identical outfits every day. Whether consciously or not, they were reserving cognitive resources for choices that genuinely required them. You do not need to flatten your wardrobe, but you can audit your day for decisions that happen on autopilot yet still cost attention. Meals planned in advance, recurring replies templated, morning routines that eliminate the question of what comes next. Each one you remove from active deliberation returns something to your account. There is also a timing principle worth taking seriously. Viktor Frankl, drawing on his reflections in Man's Search for Meaning, argued that between any circumstance and our response lies the possibility of genuine choice. What the research on decision fatigue adds is that this space of possibility narrows as the day progresses. Your most considered choices, the ones that touch your values, your relationships, your direction, belong in the earlier hours when the account is fuller. And rest is not a luxury within this framework. Sleep, food, and brief pauses between decision-heavy periods are not self-indulgence. They are maintenance. The mind is not designed to run at full capacity indefinitely. Treating it as though it can is where the real depletion begins. If this kind of thinking interests you, the slow, careful excavation of why the mind does what it does, this channel exists for exactly that. Each video is an attempt to build a more accurate map of your own inner life. That map gets richer the longer you stay.